Hi, my name is sehajpreet. I am a student of Southern Cross University in a Gold Coast. This is my student ID. Let's discuss about a programming one, assessment number two, presentation outlet, gaming description, playing method, and implementation detail, coding detail, media content details. Firstly, game description. A boy, whose name is Mike, he's playing and eating an apple in his garden. Suddenly, he finds out that there are some snakes who want to bite him and will kill him. Now, Mike will have to play and eat the apples carefully by avoiding the snake. There is 30 seconds to eat all the apples and win the game. You can see in a side picture. Let's discuss on playing method. Using the arrow keys to make the player move and eat the apples. When you eat all apples, you win the game. If the snake catches you and the time runs and out, then you lose. Implementation details. We have used to Greenfoot software to develop the game. The Greenfoot IDE has two parent classes, world and actor. Using these two, we are create subclasses of those two classes to create a inactive games and simulation. Blowing the details of a subclass create to make the game has been described. Counter. This is an inbuilt game classes to Greenfoot, which is imported as a subclass of the actor to create a trimmer object that run up to a 13 second. A snake world, a subclass of a parent classes that are defines that setting of a game like background, which class object will appear on the screen and on what position. Player. The player is the subclass of actor class, and object of a player class will be used to play the game. The player will move around the screen, avoid the enemy and eat the food. Let's discuss about the implementation detail of content. Food. The food is also subclass of a actor class. Many object of the class is added at random position in the game world for the player to eat. Enemies. Enemy is another subclass of actor class who is an abstract to the player. There is an enemy is a snake who bite the player if it's catch him. You win. There is another subclass of actor class and object of a class is added when the player eats all food. You lose. This is another subclass of a actor class and object of these classes added when the snake bites the player and the time runs out. Coding detail. The snake world class has two functions. Prepare. This function prepares the world by the creating and adding different objects like player, food, enemy in different positions. If you use a random number to change the position of an actor in a runs, this position set up on a 30 second will you add you lose the class, and when the time's up, play the sound for it and stop the game. You can see in left hand side of a private to void a pair and void act. Coding detail. The player class has three functions. Act. This function calls the other function that will define the player movement who collect food act and check key press. This function define how player will move in a different direction or pressing arrow keys. Turn at edge. This function makes the player turn when they touch the edges. Eat food. This function defines how player collect the food, and when the player object touch the food object is removed and the positive sound is played. If all 10 food items are eaten, the game is won. The enemies class has two functions. Act. This function make the enemies move randomly on the screen by giving random values, and turn function. It also calls the killer player function a bite the player if it's come in contact. Kill player. This function defines how the enemies will the player, and when the enemy's object touch the player object, you lose. The class is added and the represent sound is played and the game is stopped. Food class. This create the food object that player is has to eat, and there is a class is represented as an apple. You win the class. This is added to the world when the player is eaten all the food in indicated that the game is won. You lose class. This class is added the world when the player is bitten by the snakes and the trimmer up to indicate that the game is low. You can left hand side there are some codes. You can see media content details. Media content details. Suitable media content, image, sound has been added to the game. There are two separate directly image and sound for the host multimedia files. Greenfoot sound recorder has been used to record my own voice. That's Apple Pay accounting. You can see in my screen there is I see the pictures. Okay. That's thank you for watching the presentation. Hope you like the game. Thank you.